Coffee is a part of culture all around the globe. Wherever people are gathered, coffee is sure to be close by. Coffee brings people together, and coffee houses have become a destination of choice. Thus, it follows that in every stories you will find a community. One day, every community may have a stories.
So we have had quite the journey, but Stories in itself is a coffee company. It's not just one location. We have 3 locations here at 114th and Davenport where we're at. We have obviously specialty coffee, tea, smoothies, as well as lunch, breakfast, heavy appetizers. It's very energetic. A lot of people in here most times. So it's been pretty cool to see, in spite of what transpired during COVID, kind of what it's all turned into over these last few years. Well, Stories has been around for probably about 15, 20 years. I mean, it's been handed over to numerous owners throughout the years. And we recently, 5 years ago, purchased the name and some of the assets for it, and changed a bit of the branding, the overall look, the business concept, and so forth, and opened up our location here at 114th and Davenport on March 23rd, 2020, right in the midst of COVID. So we have had quite the journey. We have a facility up in O'Neill, which is kind of how the whole coffee thing started. We did it about 10 years ago. We started just as a hobby, roasting coffee, and had a little kind of microwave size coffee roaster, and people started wanting to buy it, and it was just different. It was better than Folgers. It was better than the stuff that you could buy on the shelf. Yeah. And so quickly ran out of capacity with that, and we got a bigger one, and then naturally, more people started wanting to buy it, and it became part of our thing. And so as a family, we went hunting, we went fishing, and so forth, but roasting became more of what we did as a family. We talked about it in a crazy way, but the origins and the process and all these things, and it's been cool to see how that portion of it's brought together my immediate family in a way that we probably never would have had. So personally, there were several moments in my wife and I's life that just kind of, I think God positioned us for a moment to take the risk and step out in faith and hope that, the dreams and goals that we had outside of the path we were going down were in alignment with His. But taking that risk and being able to step out was pretty scary. And we're so glad we've done it. But the true inspiration behind it has really been to do something more than, climb the corporate ladder and to make money and to do those things that are nice and are still, very important to be able to take care of your family and so forth, but to create a space, to create an opportunity or a vehicle to be able to give back in the form of donations, which we do every quarter, or giving back in awareness of these organizations, or giving back in a place that you open your business up as you would your house, your home. You're really opening up yourself to so many things to be happening here. And I think that's the coolest thing that's kind of evolved as we've seen who we are, just in that so many opportunities that we've been given to have this space where people just want to come and see people they know and have their meeting, have their Bible study. We do have a location down at Lulabee's downtown, and then west we have Lifegate Church, which is where we kind of first started. And so it's been pretty cool to see, in spite of what transpired during COVID, kind of what it's all turned into over these last few years. So we're getting huge fulfillment and reward just seeing people in here and the impact that we're making in other people's lives.
Wow. When do you know that you're at an okay spot? When do you know that you succeeded in terms of reaching those goals?
when you can make payroll. I'm half joking, half seriously, but
sure.
I mean, it is scary because, you're, as an entrepreneur, you're really, I mean, a lot of lives, we have 40 employees working here, and you want to make sure every one of them's taken care of. And, we've never missed payroll, obviously, but it's scary to see the fluctuations and to not have a bank that can just step in and, give you an extra revolving line of credit and that kind of stuff. That there's a little bit of just that kind of volatility and just gut check. So I mean, that's kind of the, an order of priorities.
Yeah.
But knowing that then you're sitting comfortable with certain days cash on hand, being able to foresee if I wanted to take this decision and grow it, I can fund it and not have to go and get a loan and so forth. So, and I guess just the check on the balance sheet too, knowing that your business is healthy, you're not just leveraged, through the roof. It's certain metrics like that I think that we're kind of feeling. As we get in now to year 2, we're doing year over date or year over year type of reviews and seeing kind of just where things are landing, being able to now budget and understand, this is X is what we want to pay in marketing. Before just starting up, it's a lot more shooting from the hip, unfortunately. I mean, you put pro formas and projections in place, test them, trying to grow them, but it's a little bit of a little R&D, I guess, in that first year. I try not to focus too much on, one day being different, or there's so many influences, whether it be the weather or just the way that the wind blows or whatever it is. So taking a little bit further step back, I don't get too fixated on hour by hour type of numbers, but there's some steadiness, and to see it still continue to grow, that's what I want to see. If we ever plateau, and we do occasionally, and we try to figure out why, but there's just little warning signs that you kind of try to look for. And I mean, I'm very involved with a lot of different committee structures and governances and so forth, and maybe more of a corporate setting. That stuff doesn't necessarily always apply. The intention of being organized and structured in what's being discussed and agendas and so forth, that all does. But sometimes you just, in the heat of the moment, you just need to make decisions. You need to pull your team together and go and run and fly. Sometimes a large organization is harder to move just because of so many different chains of command and so forth, which is frustrating, because you can't just make a decision and go with it. But sometimes that slowness is not always bad. Being able to fully vet decisions, new businesses and lines and so forth, there needs to be a lot of review, and there needs to be some discussion. Yep. It's somewhere in between, and I think that's what we're trying to figure out as we continue to grow, how we become nimble, but also very diligent in making sure we're really following due process and figuring out the best way of making a good decision. I'm realizing much more, and this is a good thing, the deficiencies that I have or my team has, in order to surround them with people that are good at those deficiencies and bringing the right people on. So it's developing that team, and I think that's what's cool about expansion. Isn't so much just to expand. Yeah. It's you're bringing in people that are focused on that level or that area of the business. I think it's always about communication, no matter where you're at, and I think more communication that you can provide to especially frontline staff who are the front line of your business, the better off you're going to be. And I think however structures you can help to support or set up communication outlets are key. I'm only one small piece of it. Yeah. My wife, very creative, very skilled in the sense of from a marketing and event space. Yeah. She has her role, and Jeff, our director of operations, and then my brothers as well. I have 3 older brothers, and so we're all part of the roasting portion of it. There's so much skill and so much talent and just so much heart. Yeah. And they're truly the reason why we have been successful, and I think we're going to continue to grow that and start bringing in more people, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of challenging things. I sacrificed obviously time. You know, I mean, I've got 3 kids, and my wife works in the hospital. She works nights, weekends, and just crazy schedule. So she sacrificed, you know, a ton of her time being here. We're gonna decorate for Christmas here after the video, and we try to bring the kids along with us. We try to make sure it's not as if we're giving up, you know, family or giving up, you know, something that's meaningful to us in replace of this. But then the other sacrifice, I left a really great job in corporate, but the projectile that I was heading on by leaving has now been impacted. And so where I thought I was going to be, you know, 10, 20 years from now, I'm not going there anymore. And so that's a huge thing that I've had to understand and come to peace with, because I know this is the projectile I should be on. And so the business side of things, I think we understood, and we have a lot of experience in the corporate setting and so forth. And so, like I said, the blueprint's pretty, you know, well established, but shifting from one industry to the other in the restaurant world, there's a lot of commonality amongst businesses to be able to utilize those experiences and knowledge that you have, but there's a lot that's just unique about it. And so I've worked in restaurants before, but nowhere near to the level of operating a business, and especially during a pandemic when there's no blueprints. I think naturally getting into an industry where the startup costs are probably less than maybe IT or healthcare. The more specialty and higher quality the coffee, the higher the cost for the green beans. And then the roasting, and if you do it local, there's more expense. There's so many other peripheral expenses, some indirect costs with utilities and marketing and so forth, things that we try to not necessarily just bake in every cup, but we know how many cups of coffee we sell every day, and we know how many turkey bacon sandwiches we sell every day. And so we know the fluctuations and margins are going to be different from one product to another. The more we can do in-house, the higher quality or quantity we can purchase for cups and things like that, the better our margins are going to be. There's so many things that we learned from that first 6 months to a year, and we still are. We didn't do this day one. It took us 3 or 4 years before this came about. So taking that leap, and we didn't sink, but we sure were taking a lot of water and trying to figure ourselves out as we went. But God willing, He took care of us, and things are going well now. Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot going on, and you know, we're trying to figure out, you know, how to grow in many different ways, not just here at the shop. And so we're super passionate about getting our coffee out into businesses, to churches, to retail. I think vertical integration in the sense of expansion outside of the 4 walls helps to you know, increase brand awareness, as well as residual revenue just coming through and getting people, you know, access to your product that people aren't always going to be available to come in 114th Street. So I just think of, you know, every morning getting up, you're just like, man, it's not to be, you know, cheesy, but it's a grind. You know, it literally is. It's a grind where you gotta just step up and you just do it, and you know, you can't have the pity party. You just, you know, it's like going to the gym. You know, sometimes you know it's not going to be a great day, but you got to do it, and the rewards naturally come.
Ooh, yes. Yeah! That's a good one. That's a good one.
It's so
That's a
good.
good one.
There you go. Now you got me sketching out. Ah! You know where?
Oh no! That's exactly.
This is why we don't like